that I have accepted the Governor-General's request to form a new government. And I share this responsibility with the members of Canada's new federal cabinet. I'm going to applaud them. I'm going to applaud them. Canadians elected this new government with a strong mandate to define a new economic and security relationship with the United States and to build a stronger economy for all Canadians. Canadians also sent a clear message that their cost of living must come down and that our communities must be safe. The swearing in of this cabinet is amongst the fastest following an election, and the beginning of the new parliament will be one of the most rapid following an election in Canadian history. We are starting as we aim to go on. Our government will deliver its mandate for change with urgency and determination. We're going to deliver that mandate with a new team, purpose-built for this hinge moment in Canada's history. This cabinet is smaller and more focused than those of previous governments. It will operate with a commitment to true cabinet government, with everyone expected and empowered to show leadership, to bring new ideas, to have a clear focus, and to take decisive actions to accomplish their work. In a return to more traditional cabinet government, our cabinet will be supported by 10 secretaries of state who will lead on key priorities within their ministers' portfolios. Nous allons gouverner en tant qu'équipe, autant au sein du Conseil des ministres que du caucus, et travailler de façon constructive avec l'ensemble des partis au Parlement. The decisions made by this new Parliament, which starts on the 26th of May, will be critical to Canada's future. Our new government's core priorities will be outlined on the 27th of May by His Majesty King Charles III in the speech from the throne. Nous allons travailler avec l'ensemble de nos partenaires pour atteindre nos objectifs et réaliser les changements désirés par les Canadiens et Canadiennes. Le Canada est plus qu'une nation. C'est une confédération fondée sur l'union des peuples français, anglais et autochtones. L'approche de notre gouvernement va refléter cette réalité. We will govern as a cabinet constructively and collaboratively, working with caucus and across parties in Parliament to deliver the change that Canadians want and desire. Our new government will be a strong and reliable partner to the provinces, the territories, and to Indigenous peoples. We will reinforce bridges across labor, business, and civil society. And together, we will advance the nation-building investments that will support the core mission of this government, which is to create the strongest economy in the G7, an economy that works for everyone. Alors que nos travailleurs et nos entreprises continuent de faire face aux tarifs injustifiés imposés par les États-Unis, mon gouvernement va se battre pour le Canada, pour que le Canada obtienne le meilleur accord possible. Pour le faire, nous allons prendre le temps nécessaire, mais sans plus. En même temps, nous allons renforcer nos relations avec des partenaires fiables. Le Canada a ce dont le monde a besoin. Et nous défendons des valeurs que le monde respecte. Nous allons renforcer notre propre économie, une économie qui crée des emplois, qui augmente des salaires, qui est résiliente face aux chocs. Pour y arriver, nous allons bâtir une seule économie canadienne au lieu de 13. D'ici la fête du Canada, mon gouvernement aura fait sa part pour atteindre cet objectif. We're working already closely with the provinces, territories, and Indigenous peoples to identify and catalyze projects of national significance. Projects that will connect Canada, deepen our ties with the world, and grow our economy for generations. That work will be the primary focus of the first ministers' meeting that's due to take place on the 2nd of June in Saskatoon. My government will also take immediate action with immediate legislation to fast-track these nation-building investments and to eliminate all remaining federal barriers to internal trade as our contribution to building one Canadian economy out of 13. In everything, we will be guided by our conviction that our economy is only strong when it serves everyone. That means bringing down costs for all Canadians. It means making life more affordable and helping everyone to get ahead. To those end, my last government's first act was to cancel the consumer carbon tax. In this new Parliament, our new government will put more money in Canadians' pockets with a middle-class tax cut that will take effect by Canada Day, saving two-income families up to $825 a year. We will also cut the GST on homes under $1 million for first-time home buyers and lower the GST on homes between $1 million and $1.5 million, helping to promote the goal of affordable home ownership. But that goal can only truly be achieved by doubling the rate of home building in this country. So we will build homes faster at lower costs with a smaller environmental footprint in construction and greater efficiency once families move in. And in that process, we will create an entirely new Canadian housing industry in modular and prefab housing using Canadian technology, Canadian skilled workers, and Canadian lumber. My government will work relentlessly to keep Canada secure as a sovereign nation and to keep Canadians safe in their communities. We will build a stronger Canadian Armed Forces to defend every inch of our territory through unprecedented investments in land, air, sea, and cyberspace. We will strengthen Canadian law enforcement and border security, including with 1,000 new RCMP personnel and 1,000 new border security officers. And we will toughen the criminal code for those threatening the safety of Canadians, including making bail harder to get for those charged with stealing cars, with home invasion, or with human trafficking. Nous allons bâtir la confiance en notre système de justice, et nous allons faire de même avec notre système d'immigration. Nous allons ramener l'immigration à des niveaux raisonnables, en plafonnant le nombre de travailleurs étrangers temporaires et d'étudiants internationaux. Dans toutes nos actions, nous serons guidés par une nouvelle discipline fiscale. Notre gouvernement va dépenser moins pour que les Canadiens puissent investir plus. Ce travail a déjà commencé et notre nouveau gouvernement va redoubler d'efforts dès demain, lors de la première rencontre du Conseil des ministres. Les Canadiens nous ont donné le mandat d'apporter de grands changements rapidement, de bâtir. Je travaillerai sans relâche pour être digne de leur confiance. In this past election, more than 1,900 people put their names on a ballot, and more than 19 million Canadians marked those ballots with their choice. And every vote counted. So whether you voted for this government or not, we are in your service, in the service of building a stronger, more united Canada. We will build and we will govern for all Canadians. Build big, build bold, build now. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. I'll be happy to take your questions. Okay.
Carney, Laurence Martin de Radio-Canada. Pourquoi est-ce que Mélanie Joly n'était plus la bonne interlocutrice avec la Maison-Blanche?
Madame Joly a beaucoup de talent et de talent en ce qui concerne les affaires étrangères, y compris les relations avec la Maison-Blanche ou les Américaines. Je veux préciser, avec les Américaines et sa homologue, M. Rubio. Mais en même temps, Madame Joly a beaucoup d'expérience comme membre du cabinet et beaucoup d'expérience en ce qui concerne les enjeux économiques. Et au fond, c'est un gouvernement qui va mettre l'accent sur l'économie canadienne. Oui, c'est vrai, il faut régler la situation avec les Américains, mais la personne qui doit avoir la plus bonne relation avec la Maison-Blanche, c'est le Premier ministre du Canada. Et pour le moment, c'est moi.
OK. Je vais vous demander en anglais. So it's not un désaveu, like you would say in French. In English, on Mélanie
You want me
Joly.
to answer in English?
Yes, if you
This
can
is
just repeat in English.
a first. Okay, so Radio Canada is asking
No,
for
no, no, no,
translation.
no.
in English.
That's not my follow-up. That's not my follow-up.
The point is that Madame Joly and all the members of the cabinet, particularly the most experienced members of the cabinet, have many talents and very much experience and can play many roles. The relations with the Americans, and of course including the relations with the Americans, where she has played a very important role. The person who has the relationship you asked specifically about the White House, of course, is the Prime Minister with the President, and I'm the Prime Minister, so I play that role. But I want to emphasize one other thing I said in French, which you heard, which is this is a government that, of course, we have to address and come to a new arrangement with the Americans. Il faut régler cette situation. But our primary focus is on the economy, and our primary focus is on the Canadian economy. And we are at the start of an industrial transformation, a transformation of this economy. And Madame Joly, as Minister of Industry, is going to help lead that in concert with the other members of the Cabinet and myself.
Question suivante.
Vous nommez Dominique Leblanc à l'unité économique canadienne.
Oui.
Pour vous, quelle est la plus grande menace pour le Canada? Est-ce que c'est Donald Trump ou est-ce que ce sont les fissures dans l'unité canadienne? Les failles dans l'unité.
Oui, OK. Il fait beau aujourd'hui et chaque défi a une opportunité. Et la plus grande opportunité pour le Canada, c'est d'avoir une économie canadienne au lieu de 13. Alors, d'avoir le job, si je peux dire comme ça, le job de M. Leblanc, de mener ce processus avec les provinces et les territoires, y compris le gouvernement fédéral, d'avoir une économie canadienne. C'est plus large, le rendement est plus large que la punition américaine possible.
Mais qu'est-ce que c'est le
Next
plus grand
question,
défi?
Rachel.
Oui,
please.
c'est un défi. Chaque défi est une occasion. Alors, mais l'occasion, chaque défi est une opportunité. Et l'opportunité la plus grande est d'avoir une économie canadienne.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister. Rachel Aiello, CTV News. You're 2 seats shy of 1, but should Canadians expect you to govern like you have a majority?
Thank you for the question. We ran a very clear campaign on our priorities, standing up to the U.S., getting the best possible relationship, security and economic relationship, but then at the core, building the strongest economy in the G7 economy that works for everyone. I enumerated just now some of those, what that translates into specific priorities. You'll hear more of those translations in the speech from the throne, but you will be able to guess what they are, having followed the campaign and what Canadians voted for. I'll remind, not you, you'll know this, but those watching, we receive more votes than anyone else in any election. We are in a position where we have cabinet members from all the provinces. I'm very proud of that, and a cabinet member full cabinet member from the territories. So we're governing for all Canadians, all regions, with a strong and clear mandate that came out of the election, and that's how we will govern.
Thank you. And so what does tangible progress look like for you when it comes to addressing cost of living concerns in this country? And will there be a barometer such as public mandate letters for Canadians to hold you accountable to?
Well, I think the way Canadians will hold account by their experience at the grocery store, when they're paying their electricity bill, when they or their children are looking for a place to live. So it will be their experiences how they will they will form those judgments, and then of course accountability comes at the ballot box. mandate letters, cabinets, cabinet discussions, legislation, regulation. These are just steps to accomplish those ultimate goals, and it's what the experience is of Canadians, Canadian families. That's how they will judge cost of living. I will say one other thing, but there are two elements to cost of living. One is the actual cost of things, and the other is, are people's salaries growing? Is their take-home pay increasing? Can they find jobs readily? And those last aspects, we have to focus on those aspects as well. We can act most quickly, most immediately with the middle class tax cut, which is, as I said in my remarks, we will act by Canada Day. Parliament has to approve it. We'll have to find 2 extra votes in order to get that. But we clearly campaigned on that, and we'll put that forth. But more broadly, what we need to do is build this economy, create great jobs for Canadians. At the same time, costs are held under control. But it's really about jobs and growth in incomes that will help all Canadians get ahead.
Next question, Pushing Kissam.
Sarah Ritchie with the Canadian Press. Given what you just said about trying to find 2 extra votes in Parliament, what efforts are you and your team making to sort of more permanently find those 2 extra votes from other caucuses?
Yeah, maybe I didn't say this quite as explicitly, but I will now, which is that we campaigned hard, we campaigned clearly, we had more than 100 events, we answered media questions at all our events, and gave a very clear platform. So we have a strong mandate. We're going to focus on the issues that are at the core of that mandate. Of course, we'll work with parliamentarians and we'll work with the provinces to move things forward. But we've been elected to do a job. We intend to do it quickly and forcefully. In other words, we have to address this crisis with the Americans, and we have to address the very real challenges in our economy, and we will do that.
Follow up.
Who will be your key members of your team that help you lead that Canada-U.S. relations file?
I obviously in my role, I take ultimate responsibility for it. But the Minister of Foreign Affairs will play a role. The Minister of Finance, the Minister, Monsieur Leblanc, in his role specifically designated with respect to Canada-U.S. trade, as will the Minister of Defense and the Minister of Public Safety, because there are aspects, and I will say, without going into great detail, that it was a week ago, I guess, when I met with a number of us met with President Trump and his team, and in the broader discussions outside of the Oval Office in the Roosevelt Room, we touched on all those issues: public safety, defense, as well as all aspects of economics and trade. And so it is a real team effort, and I'm remiss in that I hadn't mentioned, and I will now, obviously our ambassador in Washington, who plays a very important role, Ms. Hillman.
Next question.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister. Gillian Piper with Global News. Interim NDP leader Don Davies told Global News that your government was reaching out and calling NDP individuals about trying to poach them to join your party. Are you trying to poach NDP MPs to join the Liberals?
Look, we, as I said a moment ago, we have a clear mandate. We'll work towards that clear mandate. We're always interested in working with parliamentarians from any of the opposition parties to support that mandate. Obviously, those discussions will intensify as Parliament returns in the course of the next, well, it's less than 2 weeks. So clear mandate, focus on those. Speech from the throne will be quite clear in terms of our priorities. We'll work with Parliament.
Thank you. And as a follow-up, when Gregor Robertson was Vancouver mayor, the price of buying a house increased by 179% in one of the most expensive markets in Canada. Why do you think someone with this track record should oversee the housing file? Is this a signal from you that you don't think housing prices should go down?
You would be very hard-pressed to make that conclusion from everything I've said and what our priorities are. We have a strong view on housing, a very clear policy, a policy developed with a number of members of the team, including with Mr. Robertson, and I'm thrilled that he is in the new role because he brings the type of experience that we need to tackle some aspects of this problem. One of them is is how the federal government can help get municipal costs and municipal regulation costs down and regulation out of the way so that more houses can be built. Ultimately, a housing crisis, and it is a crisis, is ultimately solved by supply. We can do things to help with affordability at the start, which is why we have the GST cut, but ultimately it's a question of supply. And as I think you know, Julie, we have very aggressive objectives on supply, the doubling of the building of supply across Canada. We're going to have to change how we build. And a lot of that expertise, it's not exclusively, but a lot of it is actually been developed in British Columbia. Minister Robertson is very familiar with it. We're going to incorporate that, but in a pan-Canadian strategy to really drive this. Thank you.
Next question.
You'll hear a lot more about it over time. Monsieur.
Prochaine question.
Bonjour, Raymond
Bonjour.
Fillon de TVA. Monsieur Carney, plusieurs s'attendaient à voir Carlos Leitao dans votre équipe ministérielle, l'ancien ministre des Finances du Québec. Pourquoi ne pas l'avoir inséré dans votre équipe?
Monsieur Leitao, je lui connais bien. Il est très capable, beaucoup d'expérience. Je suis très content qu'il est une député libérale. C'est difficile de créer une cabinet ciblé, un cabinet assez petit de gouverner dans une manière efficace et rapide. Et alors, il faut faire des choix. Et j'ai fait des choix. M. Leitao, évidemment, il n'est pas un membre du cabinet maintenant, mais il est un membre de l'équipe libérale. Et on va travailler dans une étroite collaboration avec lui.
Je voulais également vous entendre au sujet de l'élection dans la circonscription de Terrebonne que votre parti a remportée par une seule voix, selon le dernier décompte. Il y aurait eu des irrégularités, selon toute évidence. Est-ce que vous êtes d'avis que l'élection devrait être reprise? Les gens n'ont pas pu voter par la poste, entre autres.
Premièrement, c'est mieux de... c'est mieux de gagner par une voix et de perdre par une voix. Alors, c'est pas ma première observation. Et il y avait une vérification judiciaire vient de finir. Alors, on a un processus judiciaire. On a eu. C'est pas pour moi de juger un processus formel comme ça.
Donc, pas d'élection? C'est réglé?
C'est pas pour moi, c'est pour l'élection au Canada. On peut pas, soyons clairs, on peut pas avoir une situation, n'importe quelle situation, que le premier ministre du Canada décide quand on va avoir une autre élection. Non, non. On a une institution indépendante qui prend ces décisions.
Next question.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister. Kate McKenna, CBC News. Can you elaborate on why you chose this cabinet in the context of U.S.-Canada relations? What kind of considerations did you take for positions like foreign affairs and public safety?
Well, I think the first thing is that what guided all of the decisions is several factors. One, the best possible people in the roles. We want a cabinet that reflects Canada. In all its diversity and grandeur and experience. I don't want a cabinet that just looks like me. That's not a cabinet that supports. That's not a cabinet that you can delegate authorities to. So that's what we're doing. So that's the first. That you bring the cabinet together like that. The second thing is with respect to Canada-U.S. and all aspects, if we will, of the economic and international relations, looking for a combination of experience in the files and bringing new people into the cabinet. I mean, we Canadians elected us with a mandate for change. So there is a great deal of change in this cabinet by necessity. That's what Canadians voted for. And new ideas mixed with the experience that we have. So with respect to the U.S., look, we have to be, I'll concentrate my answer on the security and defense side. We are developing, we have a series of choices, both the U.S. and Canada, to make about how we can better manage our border. We think we've made tremendous progress on it. In fact, we have made tremendous progress. But where do we go over the next decade? And then what degree of interoperability do we have in our military? in a world that's more dangerous and divided. And so we have big decisions to make there. And you see in both the Minister of Public Safety and the Minister of Defense deep experience in the government, and I think that's appropriate.
How do you balance the need to bring in new voices while maintaining experienced members of your team?
Well, I sort of drifted into, I anticipated your question, I guess, but I drifted in the answer. You need to balance it. I think that it is a very good question because you should balance it. Part of this is, again, Canadians voted for change, and part of it is bringing in those new perspectives. And, you know, we have half of the cabinet are new members to cabinet. 9 of the 10 secretaries of state are new. I mean, new broadly to a governing role. So there is a tremendous amount of, but that it also means that, you know, half of the cabinet has experience. Perhaps they're in different roles, but they're going to be around the table. And what is crucial, last point, in my view and experience, is how you govern, how you run cabinet meetings, how you run committee meetings. How you delegate authority through the mandates to ministers, so you get the maximum out of that experience and those fresh perspectives. And we intend to have a true cabinet government.
We'll have time for one last question. Dernière question. Émilie.
Émilie Bergeron, La Presse canadienne. Bonjour, Monsieur Carney. Pourquoi avez-vous senti le besoin de faire de la place à autant de nouvelles personnes dans votre cabinet? Est-ce que c'était pour vous distancier de Monsieur Trudeau?
Non, comme je viens de dire, les Canadiens et Canadiens ont voté pour des grands changements, pas des petits changements, des grands changements. Et c'est nécessaire d'avoir des nouvelles perspectives, pardon, et avec l'expérience. Et alors, à ce moment, nous avons un cabinet, un conseil de ministres, qui, avec 14 ministres avec beaucoup d'expérience et 14 de nouveaux. Pour moi, c'est parfait.
Et ensuite, en anglais.
We need to balance experience and new perspectives. Canadians voted for big change, not small change. They voted for big change. We're blessed with the trust of many Canadians. We have a big intake of new deputies, lots of different experiences that they're bringing. And so bringing a balance, which is what we have, of experience, perhaps in some cases in new roles, but experience as cabinet ministers, and new voices, new perspectives, half and half. For me, it's perfect.
Last follow-up.
Oui, donc est-ce que vous seriez ouvert à permettre au NPD d'avoir la reconnaissance de parti officiel à la Chambre des communes?
Oui, c'est plus une question pour le Parlement. Et simplement, je prends note que les Canadiens et Canadiens ont fait leur décision. Il n'y a pas beaucoup de membres de NPD. C'est une décision des Canadiens. Ce n'est pas une décision de moi. Merci.
Merci. C'est ce qui m'a fait à notre conférence de presse. This puts an end to our press conference. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup.